Ready when you are?
Is that a clap sync?
That's a clap sync.
Wow. Randy has learned so much about TV. I heard him say pre-production the other day.
Yeah, all because of Troy. You see that bull? That's the biggest bull I've ever been close to archery hunting. This is one of those hunts when it pops up on the calendar, you say, wow, late September, prime rut, New Mexico, archery elk? You can lose some sleep over that. How is it that in a place like North America, we have this thing called public hunters, on your own hunters? I'm really just an average guy from Bozeman, Montana, who grew up in the North Woods of Minnesota. I'm one of you. I'm not a movie star. I'm not an athlete. I'm just the average guy. And my job is to try and take the American hunting experience as it occurs for the average hunter and bring it to TV. Well, folks, this is one of the shop story episodes that we've been waiting to film for a long time, because with me is the guy who taught me everything I know, Troy Batzler. He was my number one guy, him and Lauren, for the first 3 years that we did this.
2 or 3 years, yep.
Yeah. You still work for Warm Springs Productions.
Yep. I was freelance then, but,
right.
But then, yeah, now I'm full-time.
Yeah,
yep.
And Troy got charged with the task of training an accountant who's really bullheaded, who hated TV, to produce outdoor TV.
Yep.
How did you put up with that, Troy?
Well, it's a tough question. The first few episodes were definitely challenging. I think the key was that you had spent a few years failing, through all the challenges and trying to work through and film hunts yourself. I think you and Matthew and maybe a few other friends had gotten good tags, hunted hard, and tried to film. And realized
I don't want that job.
It's a nightmare.
Yeah.
It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. So yeah, I think that helped us a lot because you were way more open to it. You wanted to be successful at it, and we knew what we were doing. We were trying to build these stories and slow you down and actually try to tell a story. And that's one of the hardest things to date to do if you're a producer, or a shooter producer, we call them, is you go out with somebody that's green, or you go out with somebody who's so focused on hunting and hunting alone. Yeah. You can't slow them down to actually tell a good story.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I remember you guys always saying, we're here to tell a story. We're here to tell a story. Right. And now our audience hears me say that so often. I hear these echoes of Troy back from 17 years ago. So, folks, we started this in 2008. And we'd been filming, Matthew and I and some friends, we'd been filming. And I gave up on it the summer of 2008. Sold all my cameras. I'm like, you know what? Heck with this. Mm-hmm. And then your boss, Mark Pierce, called me and said, Randy, I need one more show, and I hear you have all this footage. I'm like, Mark, I'm done, man. I'm going hunting. Mm-hmm. And then he invited me out to his house. Lauren was there. Were you there?
I think I was there.
You were
too.
there?
Yeah.
And Mark's like, yeah, I got the Benelli show, and then I got these crazy bearded duck hunters called the Duck Commanders from Louisiana. It turned out to be the Robertsons.
Right.
I need one more, and you're the guy. And so, yeah, the first year we filmed was 2008.
2008, wow.
Yeah.
I was trying to think back when it was.
Yeah. And that aired on
almost
Outdoor
20
Channel
years.
in 2009.
Okay.
And then here we are. And the story, the hunt we're kind of focusing on, and we'll dabble in a little bit because it exemplifies so many of the headaches and frustrations. And the talent that Troy has is a New Mexico elk hunt, this bull right here, that I shot from point blank range. And it turned out to be a really good episode.
Yeah, I bet you had a lot of inquiries on this 2-yard shot and how impossible that was.
Yeah, that was. But, you know, a little background to it is, Troy, you came to this with all the training and education and experience about producing content. And I was just a hunter. And so you guys really had a lot of work to train me up.
Yep. Yeah.
You feel free to tell the audience just how bad it was.
How bad it was, yeah. Well, I mean, it's hard because I tried to block a lot out of my memory with Randy in the first season. And I think because we ended, you know, by the 3rd year and you really knew what to do, it really, until you see yourself in the final product, you don't know what you're doing right or wrong. Yeah. We can preach all we want to you and say, like, stop walking that far in front of me, you know, or stop walking directly at an angle that never works for the camera, or hey, you've got to stop here so I can jump ahead, and get all these what we'd call transition shots. And you'd be in the middle of a hunt and you'd say, Randy, I need a transition shot. And he goes, what the heck is that? I don't know.
I'm going to kill this antelope. We'll do this transition.
Or there's a beautiful sunrise and you're like, I need 20 minutes. I got to set up a time lapse because we got to show a transition of day, time to night, you know, day to night.
Yeah.
And Randy would just go like, I don't know what you're talking about.
I know. And so the best half hour in the morning and evening, I'm being told we got to get these transition shots. I'm like, no, this is when you kill stuff.
Right.
There were just so many things that were expected or required under TV production. Well, you knew how I felt about reenactments. I mean, I look at them now, and that was the thing that everybody did.
Everybody.
And you were told by the network to do that, you know, we need this because da-da-da. And I get it, but now it's if we don't get it, if we don't capture it, guess what? We just tell the audience, well, we didn't get any transition here. I was in a hurry. At least you got to see the kill shot.
You get it. Wow. So, that'd be a dream for us as well, just so you know. Because it was one of those things you're always penciling in your head going, if I'm filming this, I have to get reactionary shots to match that.
Right.
And so as a producer, as a camera operator, you were always in your head going, how do I position if I'm shooting this angle? Then I got to make sure not to break the wall, and I got to, you know, film a certain angle with Randy.
Break the wall. I remember when you guys told me that, and what does that mean? Yeah. And Troy still, when we were out in the field, he would carry these engineering notepads with him and make notes. And every night, he'd be like, "Well, tomorrow we got to this, we got to that, we got
checklist."
And you guys, because we were reenacting some stuff, it's how it really happened. But there are pieces, especially with just one camera.
Right.
We couldn't get it all. You guys would be like, okay, don't change your base layer shirt. You can't change that from green to brown because you guys called it continuity.
The fact that you remember that word is impressive.
Oh, it just drove me nuts.
The hardest part would be when it was day to night and something happens right into dusk because you can't go back and match that light.
Right.
So that's when you'd be sitting there taking notes. He moved here, he was going right to left. The ridge was this amount of degrees because you'd have to go back to, if you couldn't get back to that spot the next day or evening to match those reenactments, you didn't have them at all.
Right.
So all you had were the face shots going the other way.
And we were doing these on mini DV tapes.
Right.
And
all tape. Yep.
We couldn't pull up the viewfinder and look at it on a camera.
Well, you could, but the risk.
Well, yeah, that you'd mess it up.
The risk that you rip the tape and then you're toast and everything's destroyed, which, by the way, I think happened not to myself, but it happened not on your show. It's happened to me before on another show.
Really?
Where they were insistent, like, I want to go back and look at it, and then it somehow just like messed up that section of the tape, and the rest is history.
So with this hunt, this was season 3 when we were on Your Own Adventures. But this hunt was in New Mexico. It was an archery hunt. It was hot as all get out, which often is the case in New Mexico. It's like every time I draw an archery tag in New Mexico, it's so hot. And the first day was a complete bust. The second day is a complete bust. And then we saw those elk out in the grassland country. And I think you asked me something, and I saw the outtakes at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And that was when
great.
you were like, what are we doing up here when all those elk are out there? And I look at your camera, I'm like, here we got the camera guy telling me how to hunt elk. And well, it turned out to be the right move.
The truth behind what you really see is the cameraman normally does all the work. But the guy over here, he gets all the credit for it.
I'm blessed to have a camera guy like Troy Batzler. Troy's hunted a lot. He's an experienced hunter. When he's not filming, he's usually hunting.
He's given me elk hunting advice. I'm about ready to give him video production advice.
We hiked out there, but I was sick of the dog. You know, back in the time, my liver, you'd see me on the days when my liver was bad, and we weren't supposed to talk about it. And finally, it just got to the point where we're missing enough days and there's enough gaps that now the audience knows that, hey, if Randy's staying in the tent, it's because he's got a bum liver.
Right.
And the day that this all happened, I should have stayed in the tent.
Yeah, and I mean, just to throw some context out there, you're understating how much that affected hunting. Most people would not even get out of bed on many of those days that you crawled out, or even if we were staying at a hotel, I'm talking about multiple hunts, we would be driving to wherever we were going to pop into Forest Service, and Randy would get out of the truck, and you knew, or you wouldn't even get to the Forest Service, and Randy is bailing out of the truck to go race to the bushes, and you knew it was going to be a bad day. You know, and he'd come back and he'd be like, well, let's see what happens, and we'd start marching up the hill. But I could almost say on every single hunt we did, you had at least one day where you just, you would shut down, you'd go take care of it, and then you'd start marching on. And unfortunately, you can't show that on camera. You know,
Right.
I mean, I think about what happened here, and what I saw on camera was 20 seconds of you laying by a tree with you know, holding your head and doing whatever. What the audience didn't see was the 25 minutes before that where you're puking your guts out. And I know I filmed some of it.
Yeah.
And it was not pretty. And
Right.
you would take 20 steps and you'd be like, you go over there, I'm going over here, and I just hear, "Bah." And then I'd see Randy laying in the bushes. And again, I think I even said it in the show, but it's like, it's prime time. You know, we were late because you were struggling to get up the hill and you had to stop and keep taking care of business. But to your credit, you never stopped.
Yeah, well, I should have. I was so sick. That was one of the sicker times I remember, but and some of it is kind of cloudy because when my liver gets flared up like that, the toxin loads give you a thing called hepatic encephalopathy. So you probably shouldn't be walking around with sharp objects on a string under that situation. But, you know, all the things being what they are, I was laying under that tree, and I remember you saying, like, we just need to go back. It's not worth killing yourself. But there were elk bugling just over the ridge.
Right.
I'm like, give me a half hour. And so again, this is one of the things about TV that frustrated me, is I thought that was a pretty compelling story. You know, it's not man versus nature at that point. It's man versus himself. Can I do this? Can I push through and make this happen? And then we see this bull bedded under that rock wall over there.
Right.
And I remember telling you, I think we can kill that thing. And I think you probably thought I was nuts, or you thought I was dying or hallucinating.
Well, right before that, correct me if I'm wrong, was when we got to the ridge is when those spikes, wasn't that the same day when those spikes came in?
Yeah, and the right.
So we kind of got, enticed by them, those satellite bulls. That's what we were probably hearing.
Right, oh yeah.
And then you got to the ridge and all of a sudden it's like, oh man, there's little guys running around all over the place. And then your horrendous elk calling actually called one of the bulls in, and it was like, who is this guy squeaking up on the hill?
I hear this little bugle right down the lip below me. And I look and I can see the back of an elk. And I look and I see another elk. There's 4 raghorn bulls just 150 yards off to my west. And I told Troy, I said, you know, we should set up the Montana decoy and see if we can call one of those in. It took a couple calls before they started paying attention. But all of a sudden, all 4 of them are like, hey, wait a second. I've got an arrow knocked and I'm on the draw, ready to go. And I can hear these other bulls behind us just tearing it up. Not just the herd bull, but a couple other bulls. And I'm thinking to myself, now what do I want to do here? If this one comes in, do I want to shoot? Here he comes. He stopped right there looking at me. He's locked right in on me. And I'm thinking, you know, I might take this. I can shoot him really easy. He got straight downwind of me. You know, I owe Rocky Jacobson, the founder of Rocky Mountain Hunting Calls, and father of my close buddy, Corey Jacobson. After that episode, he saw me at a show. He's like, Randy, you're the worst elk caller I think I've ever heard. Come here. So I go over to his booth and he sits me down almost like in a dentist chair. He said, tilt your head back and open your mouth. He's like, you're one of those Scandinavians with those big flat palates. He's like, try this one. Because they just come out with those domed ones.
Right.
And so flat palate in this dome, and you couldn't seal the air.
Right. It's
Well,
just whistling through.
Yeah, and so he gets me this wider, flatter one. And it's just like, he's like, problem solved. Good, throw those other ones away. And so thanks to that, and thanks to my buddy Corey, my calling still is below average, but has improved.
It was well below average.
It was so bad. Yeah.
And that's not a badge. I mean, it was hard because you were switching to mouth calls, and those are hard anyways.
Right.
And then you're up there and you're gassed and you've been puking for the last hour, and then you start squealing on that thing.
I don't know what day it was, because the night before we'd snuck in on that one that someone had hit it on the shoulder.
That's
that
right.
Great big one.
That's right.
And so we were well into the hunt by this time, and I was out of gas.
Right.
Maybe.
I think we both were, because that was that hike. To give you an idea, I mean, that was it a 40-minute hike to even get where we were?
Oh yeah.
If not an hour,
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
remember we hiked in the dark for a long time, and then you're sitting there puking during prime time, and we're trying to get up the hill. Yeah, I just remember cresting the hill, and all of a sudden it's like elk are already starting to move in bed and do their thing. We're like, we got to go.
Yeah.
So.
And so anyhow, this sequence we'll talk more about. It'll bring to light more of the frustrations that I had about TV, but also the challenges you had. Mm-hmm. We see this bull bed about, I don't know, a mile across the canyon in the shade of that rock. Troy and I were sitting there under the shade of this pinyon tree, and I'm glassing, and out behind the herd bull about another 400 or 500 yards, I see another bull that's bedded right up against this rock ledge, trying to keep the shade on him. There's a bull right where the sun is coming onto that ledge right there. It's bedded right underneath the rocks. I think I can get on him. As Troy and I are making this stock, I'm thinking to myself, you know what? This is quite a gamble. Because if I get the wrong wind direction and that herd bull and all of his cows smell me, they're going. So I drop my pack, I knock an arrow, and now I'm excited. So people probably, if they saw the episode, they saw me start out with a GoPro on my head. Mm-hmm. And you put that on my head, and I felt like, what the hell is this guy asking me to do? I hate this Mickey Mouse little whatever it is. Yeah. And somehow we ended up chucking it partway through the stock.
Right. So yeah, the backup on that is, it was first generation GoPro, which was twice the size, super bulky.
Yeah.
I had the old hat the cap top on it.
Yeah.
And how it actually worked is I put it on, I was, full disclosure, I didn't know how the thing, I mean, I knew how to turn it on. I didn't have the beep sensor off, so it still would go like turn on, beep, 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 turn off, beep, beep, beep.
And we're 40 yards from an elk.
And yeah, and so we had already hiked 3/4 of the way there, and I'm getting bored, and I'm like, this thing's not gonna, like 99% chance this elk's not gonna be there. We're just screwing off. So I'm doing camera work thinking like, hey, I'm gonna experiment with this camera. And I remember putting it on and going beep, beep, beep. And I'm messing with it, and I'm kind of filming you, and I'm moving around and doing everything. And then I'm like, okay, let's throw it on Randy. So then I throw it on Randy. But I remember that stupid thing, the battery died.
Yeah. And
it goes beep, beep, beep. And we are right on the edge where that elk is. And I just remember you looking at me like, are you freaking kidding me? Imagine if that GoPro hadn't died.
Yeah.
And we had that angle of you. I swear I think about this like at least once a year, and I just wake up going like, that stupid GoPro. No offense, GoPro, you're much better today.
Yeah.
But that angle of you with your bow, with that elk, where our feet were almost touching his antlers, would have been insane.
Epic. Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah.
And we couldn't do it. I'm jumping ahead, but we couldn't do it because I had to pull the GoPro, get it out of the way, and we were already stuck. The elk was there. We couldn't move. It was all hand signals.
Yeah.
I could never show you and how close you were to the elk because if I made a move and he stood up, we were dead.
Yeah.
And so it was, I think the only thing I kept doing, remember, is I kept saying, stick your arrow, put your arrow down
broadhead
here.
right. Yeah, I saw that last night when I was looking at it again just to review my notes. You were telling me, so I'd waved my broadhead right in front of the camera, and the elk is right there.
Oh, and that broadhead, to give you an idea, was probably like right here.
Yeah.
From that cliff. That's how close we were. Like the broadhead, when you were doing that, was just like, put it so we have somebody believes that we were that close.
Yeah.
Which is so crazy. Oh, it was wild.
Here's the part that still pisses me off today. We are standing there. Troy's got the camera up on this great big tripod, and he's got it almost straight down. Yeah. And the tape ran, we looked at it, 21 minutes. We stood there. And I'm like, I'm going to shoot him, and you're giving me this, nope. Because some dumbass at the network said you can't shoot a bedded elk.
I actually don't know if that's true. I think it was me not wanting you to shoot it in its bed.
Whatever.
I mean, whatever it was, I know you were getting so hot about it.
I'm like, he's going to look up and see us, and he's just going to bolt out of here.
Yeah. Was it 21 minutes, really?
21 minutes is how long we stood there.
He has no idea that I'm here.
We stand there for probably 10 minutes. And I tell Troy, I said, I can shoot him right here. I can shoot him right in his bed. Troy's like, no, that's not fair. Let him stand up.
What was the tension? I think Randy's understating the amount of tension we had and the amount, your nerves hit. You get there, and it was a true just shock. Like, oh my goodness, this thing is actually there. I'm here screwing off with the GoPro, thinking, what am I going to do next? We're going to walk home. What are we going to, whatever. Randy's going to puke some more. And literally, we're now standing 2 feet from an elk. And so we're doing all hand signals to each other. So this isn't me having a conversation with Randy. This is me going, put your, and I mean, it's almost comical because we're just constantly entering back and forth. And I'm trying my hardest to get some kind of reference, which is of course what we were doing, and trying to get Randy to not shoot the dang thing.
Yeah, and the blessing we had is as the sun got higher and higher, the thermal got stronger and stronger. So it's just coming up out of that canyon, and if ever there was a piece of footage about what you can get done with a really strong thermal, this is it. And finally he stands up, and I draw, and I'm shooting pretty much straight down, and I shot, and he just turns and looks at us. I'm like, how did I miss from that close? I was convinced that I missed because I look and my arrow's sticking in the dirt. My panic that I missed was not valid. Right beside the spine, it went completely through him. So he went out there about 80 yards or so. And I'm trying to fish another arrow out of the quiver, and you're like, oh, he's gonna die. And so I pull back, because I'm like, if he turns sideways, I don't care, I'm shooting again. Well, out of the corner of my eye, I see you over here, and I'm like, oh shit. So I torque my bow really hard, because I don't want to jeopardize you. And as I let down, I roll the string off the cams. And I thought that I'd hit the broadhead on the cables or something and it'd cut it.
Right.
But when I did that, if anyone's ever uncammed or unstrung their bow, the whole thing just kind of blows up in your hands.
Right.
And that arrow on my string went right past my face. And we had to cut all that audio, because I'm like dropping F-bombs. And fortunately, the bull just lays down and dies.
Right.
Oh, hell, he's right there.
The nightmare became, now we need to go shoot reenactments.
Yeah.
And Randy doesn't have a bow that functions.
Right. So
he's got a string that's just
If you've seen me walking up to the elk, if you look at that footage, I'm carrying my bow, and there's a string of cables and strings dragging along behind me. My bow is completely
just toast.
The only salvation we had is, so the reenactment parts are me like, there.
Right.
Somehow we have footage of me at drop. I'm trying to figure out.
Well, or we just pulled it all the way, and I remember how tight that shot was. I do remember we did a ton of trickery to just try to make it, to fill in those gaps.
That's what TV said you had to do.
Yeah.
And so I still, when I was watching that over the last week, I'm like, this is just a gift from the heavens.
Oh, it was crazy.
I didn't deserve it based on my calling. I didn't deserve it based on the fact that I was borderline hallucinating because of the liver toxin problem. I'd been puking my guts out, pooping my butt off. I mean, it was so bad. And somehow we killed this elk and we got it on film. Spot and stock, 2 yards. Oh my God. I am a lucky guy. So after all the kind of the humility of all of this and it's sinking in of what had just unfolded, you kind of get that slap in the face of, wake up, Randy. It's 80-some degrees. It's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. You owe it to this bull to get every ounce of meat out of here and not let any of it spoil. And then we had to pack that thing out of there. It was so hot. And we just shuttled it all to that tree. One tree.
Right. Yep.
With some shade. And then we had to pack that thing all, because now we're 2.5 miles from the truck. I don't know.
I feel like it took an hour and 20 minutes or something, a shuttle. All I remember is, downhill. It was all uphill to get in and all downhill to get down, or mostly downhill.
Right. Yeah, and I was so thankful you weren't one of those camera guys who said, oh, I don't pack meat, I just film. Because I had a few of those along the way. And Troy was never that guy. He was like, you got more? Is that all you got?
I don't think it was like that.
But the bad part was, in the grasslands of New Mexico, it's all volcanic. And so the grass is this tall, and it's like walking on a field of footballs, because there's all that lava rock there.
Yeah.
And you're tripping and stumbling. And I am so sick. I'm like, this might be the last elk hunt I ever do, because I might die.
Right. Oh, it was nuts. And you got to remember, you also had to spend an hour butchering it. I mean, it was... Yeah. I think it was it mid-morning when you shot? Was it mid-morning?
It was like 11 o'clock.
And we took the last load out at like midnight.
Yeah.
It was nuts.
Yeah, we got back to the truck well after sunset.
Yeah.
And I see in the footage again that you're like, stop. You had carried a DSLR, which was the first time we ever got footage on something that wasn't a camcorder.
Right.
And you're like, oh, the sun is epic. We're just leaving with the rack and the last load of meat. And you're making me walk back and forth across this horizon, because you're like, oh, this is going to be, you always say, this is gold.
Yep.
Oh,
and it was worth it for me.
Yeah. I was so pissed at you. I'm like, did he have any idea that I could die out here?
Right. It all just goes back to perseverance. I mean, I think about that morning and how tired I am. And I specifically remember hiking up that hill that morning. And usually by day 4 or 5, you're just kind of over it. You're like, okay, it's a job. We got to go do it. But for you, it's just drive. I mean, it is a job, but it's more just you're driven to want to go prove a point and prove that you can go hunt in these remote places on public land. And then to go through all literally the crap you're going through and the puking trying to get up the mountain. So you think about the wear and tear that does on your body. We're already exhausted to start with. You get to the top of the hill, magic happens. You know, you do the next hike going over to the elk. We get it. You got to butcher it. It was 90 some degrees out. So we're scrambling to get in the shade to try to save it. Haul out for 2 hours. I think we just hydrated, grabbed a snack, came back, got the second load. I mean, it was, that was no joke.
It was, and then the next morning, I told you, I said, don't even wake me up. I'm not probably dead, but you're going to think I'm dead. And the funny part was that when we'd spotted those elk out in the grasslands, we drove over there because we'd been hunting up in the mountains.
Right.
And we bumped into those one guys. And I'm like, you guys hunting out there? No. If you want to go hunt out there, knock yourself out. You can't kill those elk out in that grassland.
Right.
And then, so we're over here, they're camped over there, and they're coming past our camp to go hunt in the mountains. We're going past their camp to go hunt out in the grasslands. And so the next morning I hear a group of four-wheelers coming, and I'm laying in my tent. I'm just like, oh, I'm too tired. And you were up, and they drove by, and they're like, where'd you get that? I could hear the talk. Where'd you get that thing? And you're like, out there in the grassland. 2 days ago, they told us you could never kill one out there. And then the one guy, I remember, he's like, well, and if you kill one out there, you know how hard it is to get one out of there? We found out.
Right.
They probably thought we were nuts.
Right. Oh, it was a cool hunt, though. Yeah, it was a lot. We learned a lot, for sure, and had a lot of mistakes. And like I said, sometimes it all just comes together.
I'll be honest. What I knew about elk hunting 17 years ago compared to what I know today, I had no business producing content around elk hunting when I first started. But you saw how many mistakes I made and how many things we screwed up along the way, and those were all learning experiences.
Right.
And,
you just wanted to go public with all your mistakes.
Yeah, I wanted the whole world to know what a terrible elk caller I was, or how bad of a shot I was, or whatever else it might be that was a problem. But you know, the whole TV part of it at this time, so now it's season 3, in my head I'm trying to think, how do I get out of the TV environment? Because it just felt so confining to all the things I wanted to talk about. Like, you would sit down and we'd do what's called a spine interview.
Good memory, yeah.
And you guys would make me sit there and you'd say, hey, you got to talk in the present tense.
Yep. I was just going to say that you talk about struggles. Getting Randy, much less anybody, but Randy to talk in present tense. Now, keep in mind, a spine interview is usually done at the end of the hunt. Right. So everything's already happened. So go try this at home and try to tell a story in present tense that happened 5 days ago. Yeah. It's nearly impossible.
Right. And you guys would stop me. Hold on, you're talking in past tense. And I'm like, I don't give it. The audience is going to know. And just the reenactment stuff and all that. I wanted to talk about the logistics. I wanted to talk about equipment. I wanted to talk about tactics, and none of those would make the cut.
Right.
And so my mind is thinking, how do I end up on YouTube? Because YouTube had just started like 4 or 5 years before that. And it took me a few years to get there, but eventually I did. And our job is so much easier now than it was back then, Troy. The equipment, the reliability of just the equipment, you know, you guys, I remember in eastern Montana, I shot a whitetail, and Lauren's camera had been giving us fits, and right at the time I shot the camera. So that stuff was not very reliable. It wasn't resistant to water and dust and everything else. The batteries were bigger and didn't last nearly as long. The bigger the camera, the bigger the tripod you need. And
Yep.
you guys were under instruction from Warm Springs, nothing handheld.
Right.
So everything we did, I had to wait for you guys to get the damn tripod
Right.
set up and leveled. And
Right.
I'm like, this thing's going to get away.
Right.
And I look back there, you guys ready yet? I mean, I could have had a sandwich half the time before everything got set up properly. But
And little does Randy know, I don't know if other cameramen would do this, but I would always judge the terrain and always have my sticks set up to set immediately. So if we're on a 30% grade, I'd have my bottom leg, 6 inches lower than the other two legs, so that when you're hiking and all of a sudden he goes, there it is, you're just, and you're level.
yeah.
There were tricks you do, but if you're a hunter, that's not fast enough.
Oh, I know.
Because things are happening like this. If you're
Yeah.
a cameraman, your camera's on. A lot of times if he says a word, you're already recording. You've got, the deepest focus you can have so that you don't have time to mess around with your focus. Boom, you put the sticks down
Yeah.
and game time.
Yeah. And we want 10 seconds of pre-shot focused footage. I mean, Nathan was a great guy, the producer who wrote all the, basics of, he and I'd
Yeah.
spend time on the phone talking about what I saw, and I'd send him documents and he'd put all that together. And I remember in the production book, it's like, try to capture 10 seconds of pre-shot focused footage. I'm like, what? 10 seconds? That's a long time.
Right.
And the very first hunt him and Lauren ever filmed me on was a Colorado pronghorn hunt with my buddy Neil Severinson.
Mm-hmm.
And in the production book, it said, make Randy walk in a big circle. And so at low light, they put these two cameras out and they make me walk up this ridge and walk in. I'm like, what am I doing? They're like, well, from one spot, we can get footage of you with the sun at your back, you with the sun in your, on your other side, some going uphill, some. I'm like, what the fuzz, man? This is.
I think I was on that hunt.
You
actually.
were?
Yeah. I remember that just going. And it was a little different than my strategy because I think you took like a half-mile loop over all these.
So the amount of work it took to produce a 20-minute episode for TV was insane.
You could shoot 3 episodes on YouTube of what we're doing, or at least make it 40 to 60 minutes.
Yeah, this hunt here would be, if we did our day-by-days, it'd be 4 or 5 day-by-day episodes in the Fresh Tracks Plus version, which is our highly polished storyline version.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of being 20 minutes long, plus all the filler content from that Cineplex, or what was that helicopter thing that they...
Oh, the Cineflex. Yeah, we forgot to talk about that. So we shot separately. This was not while we were hunting, but it shows in the episode like it's happening live. Like we're hiking and all of a sudden you see Randy and I cruising through.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was a Cineflex where there's a camera mounted in the front of a helicopter that was shot in Montana in multiple different terrains so that they could be stitched into episodes to just make it, which they are epic shots, but it's not something we didn't hire a helicopter when we were there. We would have had it all the elk out.
Right, yeah, so over in the foothills of the mountains here, probably 100 miles east of here, I get a call one night from Warm Springs saying, hey, we've got this helicopter with this great, the lens is like this big on that thing, and we're gonna have about 4 spare hours that we've already paid for. You should drive over there and we'll just film you and Troy running around the mountains over there. So all that aerial footage that people see was shot in Montana, not in New Mexico. But that's how TV was produced at the time. And yeah, there are just so many things to that I think about. How did I get through that? Just the frustrations and but I go back to what you said at the beginning. The fact that I had tried to film myself and others for 3 years before this. Mm-hmm. I'd had your job and I hated it. And so I knew how hard it was.
Right.
And I was never gonna criticize. I was never going to critique. I was just gonna, hey, I'm doing what I told. At least I don't have their job.
Right. You always had the storytelling aspect. And I think that was part of your frustration is you wanted to tell a bigger story.
Right.
And A, there wasn't time, and B, there were limitations on what you were able to tell and the message you wanted to tell. But on top of that, it was too hard to do all those things at one time. And since you had experienced that yourself, you were like, okay, I'll slow down, I'll respect these guys and see what they're trying to teach me. And I'm sure some of that stuff has carried over. I mean, some of it you're like, I'll never touch it again, and I'm never doing that. But other things, obviously, when I hear you say pre-production, that wasn't even a term you
I didn't know what that meant. There were so many things. My learning curve was so steep the first year, even the second year.
Yeah.
By the third year, I'm starting to get there. And you and Lauren had trained me so well that after the third year, I think it was, you and Lauren got moved to the Mountain Man show.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up with Brad and Mason.
Brad and Mason, yeah.
And they were great guys too. Young and green.
Right.
And there were times I felt like, well, this isn't what Troy and Lauren had me do. They got so tired of that. Troy and Lauren used to make me do this.
Right.
And they're like, we're not Troy and Lauren.
Exactly.
I'm like, well, this is how I do it.
Right, right. And those two were great too. I mean, they're beasts in the woods. And I think that's part of the other aspect, and you touched on it, is like everybody out there has to be able to be self-sufficient and survive in the woods and also film and also manage media, and take notes, time-coded notes, and then script, quote-unquote script, what the story is. And that's where you were really good at. When you'd sit down and do a spine interview, sometimes we couldn't get you to shut up. It was just, you'd tell the story, but then you'd tell like a 3-hour story sometimes. And my brain's going, okay, you actually only have about 4 minutes of on-air time here because we got 18 minutes of all the other stuff we already shot.
Well, that's why Kim says it takes me a half hour to say hello. And that's a Minnesota thing or a family thing that I grew up with. I don't know, one or the other. But there's so much of that I think about now that I benefit from. And I'm grateful that you guys put up with me and, and taught me and coached me along the way. And I don't know what the editors at Warm Springs thought when those
came through.
Yeah.
Well, they were used to other hunting shows that didn't have, I gotta be careful how I say it, but didn't have hosts that were willing to stop down and get all that extra stuff.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about this on the drive over. I've thinking about some of the nightmare shows I've filmed in the past. Overseas or wherever it is, and you've got a host or somebody who's fresh on camera and they're going on their dream hunt, and the last thing they want to do is be coached up on how to make TV.
Right.
And I remember one hunt where we were in Africa, and I think we went through 3 or 4 different plains animals before I could get him to even slow down and say, stop, I need to get a shot.
Yeah.
And it's like, and he just turned around and said, too bad.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is going to be a long week, and so that's to your credit. And I think that all stems from you suffering through a few years of trying to film yourself.
Yeah.
And film, capture, and hunt at the same time, and going like, okay, I'm going to need some other help on this.
Well, the other part, and this is probably too much information, but the first season, remember we were on the road with Uncle Larry and the stock market crashed? And I mean, October of 2008, I had just signed a contract with Warm Springs for $200 and some thousand. And then the airtime buy, and every sponsor pulled out.
I do remember that, yeah.
So if I looked like I was fretting, it's because I had told my wife that, this will at least be a break-even operation. And for the first year, we had one little sponsor for $25,000, and I had $400,000 of costs. So if I looked like a little panicked, it's like, well, there goes everything I had planned on for retirement. So then I had lied to my wife and said, don't worry, we'll get that back.
Right.
And then the next year, we had Leupold as a sponsor. And I'm like, well, I got to see this through.
Right. Yeah, it was a wild ride.
And I remember Kim saying, look, you're a CPA. Would you tell one of your CPA clients to continue doing this? And, but she was committed to the whole idea of public land and and telling a story about how the average person can go and have world-class experiences out on public land.
Right.
And
Yeah, one other nugget, sorry, just throw in there that I think also helped your background, if I remember right, is you spent some time in the hospital well before we started working with you.
Yeah.
And you binge watched hunting shows for weeks,
Yeah.
and realized how garbage they were and how they weren't even telling the right message.
Yeah, the history of how I got into this was complete fluke. You know, my whole liver instance ended up with a huge blood clot in my liver, but it was tax season, so I didn't have time for a blood clot in tax season. So I went 3 or 4 weeks, I think, without doing anything about it. And finally I passed out at home one Friday night, and Kim carted me to the ER. And they're like, we don't know what you have, but it's not good. Your blood profile is really screwed up.
Oh.
So they shipped me to the University of Washington in Seattle, and they're like, well, here's your problem, but we can't fix you, so you're going to the Mayo Clinic. So went to the Mayo Clinic. They're like, you are really sick. You're lucky you haven't died. You're going home and you're just laying on the couch for 3 months, and you're just going to let your liver, and we'll see how you respond. And that's when I watched too much outdoor TV.
Okay. Yeah.
And Matthew would come home from his whatever his summer job was, and we'd play cribbage. And I remember laying on the couch, sick as a dog, and I told him, I said, I've watched way too much outdoor TV. That is not therapeutic and medicinal at all. I said, that is so much crap. And he was the teacher's assistant for the video editing class here at Bozeman High.
Oh, nice.
And he said, well, Dad, we could do better than them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, that's why I'm on the couch and they're on TV. Right, sure we could. Well, somewhere in my over-medicated state, he goes downstairs and tells Kim, hey, Dad and I are going to start a DVD business.
Oh, that's right, it was DVDs
Yeah,
at first. I forgot.
this is
Yeah,
how old school
Yeah.
this was. And a couple days later, I didn't even know what B&H Photo was.
Yeah.
Boxes show up from B&H Photo. I'm like, what the hell's all this stuff, Kim? Well, Matthew said you guys are getting in the DVD business, so I helped him get all this stuff. That was in 2005, I think. Yeah. And through the help of some other people trying to help us along. And I went to the SHOT Show in 2007 and got laughed out of the joint.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, self-guided on public land? They'd
Right.
pat you on the back, kind of like, good luck with that, boy.
Right.
And so I went back to the SHOT Show in January 2008 with the same idea, had this sizzle reel Matthew had put together, got laughed out of there again, and that's when I said, I'm done. Sold everything.
Mm-hmm.
All that stuff that came from B&H, I sold for dimes on the dollar, probably.
That's because it's obsolete every year.
It
like,
is.
as a new camera comes out.
Yeah, and Adobe Premiere editing system that I got, it used to come in a box full of DVDs.
I have it,
And you
yeah.
had to sit there and a DVD one, DVD,
Right.
and every time there was an update, they'd send another box of DVDs. It's like, oh, I can't believe I was dumb enough to think that was, but mostly what it was is the Mayo had told me, look, your life as a CPA is short term. You better figure out what your next gig is. And that summer of me on the couch, Kim and I concluded that if I didn't have something to do, we would end up divorced. Because I'm the worst husband on the planet when I'm underfoot.
Right. Right.
So I think it was cheaper to start this enterprise than it was to get a divorce. And she has put up with me for reasons I don't know. And she's been all in on this forever.
Yeah.
It's a head scratcher. You know, you and I talking about this today, I scratch my head like, how did somehow we navigate all this to where right now we're getting ready to embark on season 18.
That's incredible. Yeah. And you could have been divorced before season 1. Kim's a saint. Yeah. I mean, it is the amount of navigating you've had to do to get to where you're at is well, again, it's stubborn perseverance. I mean, it's what I call it, because if somebody tells you no, That's the worst thing you can do to Randy. You cannot do this. And Randy goes, watch me.
Yeah.
It might take 18 years, but I'll do it.
Yeah, Kim says the same thing. Please don't tell him that's not possible.
Right.
Because he'll take that as a
Right.
challenge. But
Yeah.
no, you and Lauren and the Warm Springs crew were the perfect group to kind of get me just to where I am. I mean, I needed all the coaching, all the teaching, all the support and infrastructure and tolerance, and let me make some stupid mistakes and let me be bullheaded and then find out why, that's why they told me that was never
Right.
going to work. But the one thing Troy will confess to is that by the second season, I was done with reenactments.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, these guys are the pros. They know everything. So for the first 2 seasons, we did some. The third season, to get me to do a reenactment, I almost had to put me at gunpoint.
Mm-hmm.
After the third season, I'm like, nope. If we don't catch it, I'll just tell the audience we don't have it.
Right. Right.
And I've not done a reenactment since then, and I never will.
Yeah. Good. No, and TV's changed with you. I mean, I think you
Yeah.
were probably ahead of the curve because we were deep in the throes, back in the 2000s, whenever that was. That's just what the industry standard was.
Right.
You still see people do it some
Right.
today. Cameras obviously help a ton,
Yeah.
where you can have multiple cameras and you can actually, have a camera shooting back the entire time.
Yeah.
Or GoPro mounts on your chest or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm glad you stopped doing that. And I'm sure the cameramen are the most thankful for that because they don't have to fight you like we used to all the time. And you used to do such a piss poor job doing it on purpose
I know.
sometimes.
I'm like, it's kind of like when you told your kid that they had to eat their broccoli.
Right.
They might eat it, but they'd spit some out and they'd throw their mashed potatoes on the floor just to show you that they didn't want to do it. I was kind of like that.
Yeah.
I hated it so bad because my mind was going back to laying on the couch being sick, and that was one of my complaints about outdoor TV was this is all reenactment. This is,
Yep.
and
Which I don't know if your viewers know what that means exactly, but that's like the angles are impossible during a hunt that you're getting. And it's like there's no way there's a cameraman standing 10 feet in front of him shooting back while he's loading his rifle and shooting. And it's like, no, we'd shoot that after, we'd lock the camera off, we'd get a safe spot, and we'd shoot it because it builds up the tension.
right.
And I think I'm glad that viewers no longer wanted it. And that's why I'm saying viewers might not know it because it's not on TV or on YouTube as much as it used to be.
Right.
It used to be all the time.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and in 2014, that's when Mark, one of the owners of Warm Springs, called me and said, Randy, we're so busy with other shows. And you guys have been doing this more as a favor to me than anything. Mark and I went way back from our days at Ducks Unlimited, and Mark has been such a huge supporter and fan. I can't imagine how much money you guys lost trying to limp me along. And finally in 2014, he said, Randy, we just can't do it. If you want to take it over, knock yourself out.
Right.
So I did. That's when I started hiring contract guys. And then in 2015, I hired my first part-time employee, Marcus Hockett, who's still with us. And then he came on full-time in 2016. And 2015 is when one of the editors you guys had, Chad Cool in Minnesota, he became kind of the editor for everything during that contract period.
nice.
And I'm like, well, this is it. I'm going to YouTube, and if it doesn't work, I'm done. I've given it my best shot, and I'm going fishing. And so we went to YouTube in 2016. And I renegotiated my network agreement, and this was a lot of fighting and arguing back and forth because they wanted your digital rights. I'm like, no, I am paying you. You get these TV rights for 6 months, but you don't get any digital rights.
Right.
And I'm sure they're like, these CPAs are such a pain in the butt. So I was able to do both in 16 and 17, do both YouTube and TV.
Nice.
And then by the end of 17, the plan was, I don't need TV anymore. And everyone told me I was nuts. I can't believe you're going to leave TV. You've worked so hard to. I'm like, I don't care. You know.
Right.
I grew up in a trailer house. If I got to go back and live in a trailer house, it's not the end of the world. I was happy then. I'll be happy now. It's kind of, you know.
Right.
It's not the make or break. And I really didn't do this because I wanted to be a TV person.
Right.
For me, where the seed really started was in 1998. I was back in DC lobbying on some public land stuff. My first trip back there.
Mm-hmm.
And I went in and saw a couple senators and their staffs, and they're like, well, we had some other hunters in here, and they think that these public lands, we should sell some of them, and we're this and that. I'm like, whoa. And I came back, and Kim was like, what, your mind's turning, what's going on? I'm like, well, the public land hunters, like we are, there's folks back there who'd sell us out.
Mm-hmm.
But I got to figure out a way to give more voice to people who hunt like I do.
Right.
And so all these things in my liver and having to scale back at the CPA firm, and it all came together. And
And just built from there. And
Yeah.
you become a great spokesman for public land. So.
yeah, so you've seen it from the beginning, Troy. You've seen the warts, the bumps, the bad,
Yeah.
the occasional victory.
Yeah, there are a lot of things that hit the editing room floor, as they call it, that
yeah.
some rightly so should, and
Right.
some need to be pulled off and shown someday.
Yeah. You know, we have Warm Springs gave me all the old footage. It's on drives. And someday we should probably go back and make day-by-day episodes of those.
Yep.
And,
You could just put the 21-minute video of the elk. This guy right here, just put that live on YouTube. People would sit there and watch that.
Probably.
That's slow TV with like a crazy heartbeat right there.
Yeah,
You know,
that
the
would
adrenaline
be-
rush of standing there 2 yards from a bull that long.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, looking around my shop here, you know, you were in on that Montana one, that Montana one. That Montana one is when you put your back out. Isn't that kind of when you retired from field producing?
From cameras, from filming, yeah. I
Yeah.
think I did a few after that, but yeah, that was a gnarly story. We'll have to do
Yeah.
another
We'll do one
tale
on
on that
that.
one, because that was
Yeah.
an all-nighter laying in the bushes with Randy saying, "Oh, we're not going to do spike camp," and I came very unprepared. And remember, it was like 90 degrees, but then at
And then
night you just
The wind
freeze.
blew
The
50
wind blew.
miles an hour and the temperature dropped.
And we sat there and shivered all night.
Yeah.
And the only thing that kept us going, the elk were bugling right below us all night,
Yeah. And then they came past us in the dark.
back towards our camp.
Yeah. By the time shooting showed up, they'd already walked right past us.
Yep.
It's like,
Yep.
no, that was stupid.
Yeah.
Again, all the stupid things I did
Right.
to learn that, don't do that again.
Right.
But yeah, that New Mexico one, you were in on that one.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That Colorado mule deer, you were in on that one. Yeah, you were in on quite a few of these.
Yeah. Yeah. Good
So,
memories for
Yeah.
sure.
Well, what I had to do is I had to write little tags on them. I got little plastic tags that I've put on all of them now. The year, the location.
Oh, so you can
Otherwise,
remember.
I'd forget.
Right.
So,
Yeah, that's cool.
especially as they get older and foggier and
More senile.
Yeah, exactly. Well, anyhow, folks, I hope you enjoyed this. We'll throw some clips of what Troy and I are talking about in this. Maybe we'll dig some of this stuff off the drives that, well, you didn't have any hardcore footage, I don't think, of me puking in the camera or pooping my guts out, but I felt like I had the world's worst hangover. Like I drank 2 quarts of whiskey or something and only slept for an hour. But
I swear I filmed some of you puking. It was prolific puking. Like it was so epic I had to film it, because I was like, I don't think he's going to actually make it, like literally make it up or down the mountain.
yeah, I might be filming the last half hour of Randy Newberg's life
Exactly. I might as well get it all.
here. Oh, well, thanks so much
Yeah,
for all
thank
you've
you.
been. And, we've been able to keep a relationship as busy as we both are, but I treasure it and I value it. And
Yeah,
I'm
same.
so thankful, Troy, that how you and Lauren put up with me is beyond me.
We got paid.
Yeah, you guys got paid. Kim always says this is the best job Randy ever bought.
Right. She's right.
Anyhow, folks, I hope that gives you a little bit of the background of how all this started, kind of the headaches, the learning, the bumps in the road along the way, and some of the great people who got us to where we are. So thanks for watching. Thanks, Troy.
Thanks.